Okay, so the two projects that we're worried about are the VB CLR database project and the C# CLR database project. Okay, I have a C# database, SQL Server database project sitting here. Let me get rid of that stuff right there. All right, I'll hide this stuff over here so you don't need to see it, so you can't see what I'm doing. And I'll leave that there. And I will make this. This is the best feature for a trainer of Visual Studio is this little guy right here. Being able to increase the size of the code so my students can see it. You know, that's just good stuff. All right, is that better?
Yes.
Sweet. Okay, so just taking a look at a few things. Okay, I have a whole bunch of things open, so we'll look at store procedures and functions first. Okay, store procedures and functions first. Okay, so I have a class here. Oh, wait, let me show you. Back earlier, I had a slide, and that whole slide was taken from this right here. Under project, it gives me the things that I can do. Okay, those are the ones. Okay, yeah, I know you've seen a while. That's awesome stuff, right? Okay, user-defined functions, store procedures, aggregates, triggers, user-defined types. So now, I told it that I wanted to do a store procedure. What it created was a class called whatever I wanted to call it, so I called it JProcs. Okay, I do not like the way it actually names because you're going to have to change the first name that it creates but that's just the way it is, so it's not a big deal. Okay, I have a method, public, static. Everybody know what static means? Okay, static means what? It can be called from the class.
Once it's loaded onto the heap, it stays on the heap.
There you go. Which means I can call the method from the class, right?
Without extension.
Yeah, without extension, which means I can call the method from the class, right? Public, static, void, and then I have some name of some procedure to get complex data. But what's more important is the line right above. Do you see it? That's what's going to tell the compiler or SQL Server actually that this is going to be a store procedure. This can be used for a store procedure. So we have the Microsoft namespace, Microsoft.SQLServer.server, and then SQL procedure. Awesome. Okay, coming on down, I have another one. Okay, this one right here says at the top of it, function. Okay, SQL function, meaning that it's going to be a function. You might notice some other things that are different in there as well. This method returns not just a string, but a SQL string. Okay, so they gave us all the data types for SQL Server as well. They all have SQL in front of them. So when you're sending it back, you know it's an SQL version of a double. It's the SQL version of a Boolean. It'll say SQL bool, but what is it? It's what data type over SQL Server?
A bit.
A bit. Thank you, sir. All right. So those top lines are the most important things. Okay, those top lines are the most important things. They're telling the compiler, hey, this is the type of procedure that I'm doing. Okay. Let's go back. Let's go over to another one real quick. This one's called add strings. And this is a aggregate, okay? And what it does is it takes any column you tell it to take, and it adds all the strings together and puts a comma between them, creating a little nice one column of comma-separated values. Okay? That's what aggregates do, right? They take everything from every row and put it all together. Or you sum, what does that do? Everything in that column or all the rows down, add it up, right? That's what I'm doing with my aggregate. Just go in and grab all the data there and put a comma between them. Okay? Maybe not useful, but still good stuff. All right? It can be done is what we're saying. You can create your own type of aggregate. It's awesome. Okay, I have another one here called, which is just super big. Everybody is going to need this one. I'm going to have this code posted on the blog. Count vowels. What?
Hello, man.
You don't need that? All right. Okay, so they're just examples. Okay, this one is a struct. The other one you saw was a class. This one's a struct. Okay, and it creates a SQL user-defined aggregate. Neat stuff, huh? Okay, I've got one. This is a nice class here. How many of you have to track X and Y coordinates?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, how do you track them? Two different columns?
Or maybe 6.
No, I mean in the database. How do you store it in the database? Two fields, right? What if I said you can put that in one field, and I'll allow you to pull out the entire coordinate, either the X, comma, Y, or I'll allow you to get X, or I'll allow you to get Y. Would that be beneficial to you? That's cool stuff. You can do that. Okay? It's awesome. Okay? And so it's a class, where this one's a struct, and basically it's just adding methods and such, methods and properties to your data type. That's all you're doing. Okay? Beautiful stuff. And then add this one, URL types. So we talked about URLs. This data type would allow you to grab out each portion of the URL. So I think so it brings out the protocol, it brings out the domain, it brings out the address. Okay? So you as a developer just made other people's lives easier over in SQL Server. These things have nothing to do with performance. Well, those last ones, the aggregate, they have nothing to do with actual performance. You know, they're probably not going to kill you. Well, aggregate's mine, so let's look. User defined data types aren't. They're not going to mess with your performance at all. Are you with me? Okay, so here we go. Let's keep looking. Okay, I want to go back to, I'm just pointing out some things inside the code before we go and take a look at what they do. Okay, let's say you're going to run a store procedure. Okay, you're writing a store procedure. Anybody see the problem with that? If I make a store procedure here and I put it in SQL Server, so now there's a store procedure in SQL Server, right? And inside of my store procedure, I go and connect to the actual tables that are in SQL Server. You see a problem there? Okay, because this guy wrote some code that executes a store procedure from, say, a VB app. Okay, it comes to SQL Server, right? And it calls that. Now he made a connection to us, didn't he? It's got context, doesn't it? It knows who the person is who's trying to execute it. It knows all that security information. Knows all that good stuff, right? So it calls your store procedure you created, which now goes and runs your CLR code. And inside of here, you have to connect to the actual tables to get the information. Okay. You with me? You see that slight little issue there? Okay. The way we solve that is when I connect to it. Actually, let me show you the right code. When I connect to it, I'm actually going to use a different connection string. Still can use ADO.NET. That's all good stuff. Where is it? There it is. Okay, right here. This line of code. Okay, that's the same connection string I would write to write create a connection object, right, to instantiate one. Okay, SQL connection con equals new SQL connection, and then in the constructor, I would usually put a connection string in there, right? Here I'm just saying, hey, this is going to be a context connection. Okay, equals true, which means the current context I'm already in, the connection I'm already using, use that to go to. Does that make sense? Problem solved on that one. Okay, we got through that one. The other thing is, as I'm sitting out here working with stuff, and I want to write information back to, say, the query window or back to the user, I've got to get it back to SQL Server, right? And so to do that, let's see where I see that code. Here it is. There is a SQL context object that you can use. Okay? SQL context has a pipe in it. You can write back out to that pipe. So in order to write some CLR code, if you were going to go in and manipulate data, start doing a lot of manipulation of data as far as going out and reading tables and creating rows and sending them back, but you need to read a little bit about the SQL context object and then just passing in an actual data context. Also with triggers, we have that similar issue, don't we? Because a trigger, insert, update, delete triggers, you've heard of those, right? Okay, those guys do what? You do an insert statement, trigger, the trigger is inside of that transaction, right? Well, there's a context there. We need to pass that context into your CLR so it can be in the same context. Does that make sense? So there's a trigger context object as well. So those are the things that we have to worry about. After that, the rest of it's just you doing your C# code. Simple as that.
What is your context if you're developing remote from your database and you want to test this?
Mm-hmm.
No. Before I create a project, it's going to say I need to connect to a database.
Oh, okay. So it knows the context.
Yes, sir.
Can you show the issue of the record there that was used for the sent results for a record?
So the definition of what?
The record?
Oh, right there. Right there.
Oh.
SQL data record. Okay? I created a row. SQL data record. I also threw metadata in about the row, which means the column headings. Okay? And then I added to those rows and then sent the information back. Okay? Excellent question. Yes, sir?
What if you're on a single instance database system? What if you have multiple instances of the same database and this has to be put across linear? And you have to choose the database initially. Can you switch context to the database?
Yeah. So I'm in dev and I want to go over to production.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure. Over in the properties or right click, you guys are asking too many good questions. All right, stop. Okay. Over here under so this is your properties window. You're familiar with it. Okay. There's a database tab now for you. Okay, in this type of project, and right there you can change the connection string to wherever you want to go. Okay.
Is that in a big file?
What was that?
By any chance is there a big file to change that in also?
You can always create an app config file and tie that property in, but
Then you can dynamically.
But see, I think your concern is not a big deal because what we're doing, you're in dev here. Certainly, you can go ahead and change that option, right? Dev to test, whatever you want to do. When it's deployed, you're deploying to a specific server.
If you have the same, every client gets their own database. You may have 50 of the same database in dev and 50 of the same prod. You have to be able to change the database name in the next.
Yeah.
To dynamically shift between databases.
Yeah, I don't see that as a problem. I don't see. I think you're fine with what we have. I think you're good. Okay. When we get finished with this though, I'm gonna look that up and let's just take a look and see where it can be done. But I'm pretty sure you're fine with that. Who have it? Yes.
I mean, when we talk about function always belongs to a particular database, right?
Right. Unless you put it in the master database and make them like global for the whole thing.
So if you want the function to be available for every database, you want to keep it master.
Put it in master. Yeah. Same rules apply and you'll see why in a minute. That will become clear why, because the database administrator still has to go in and write the statement that creates a function. All he's going to do is point it to our DLL after that. So hold that question, I'll get to there in a minute. Yes?
Is there any object cache for IntelliSense?
It is, well, okay. since I was, I've been asking for IntelliSense. Me and Bill Gates go out to dinner all the time, right? And me, him, and Warren got together playing cards one night, and I was like, dude, can we get some IntelliSense for SQL Server, right? And he's like, all right, I'll have to put it in this version. They put it in. The first thing I did when I got it was turn it off because it makes you write your queries backwards. So I don't know. I haven't even tried to see if it's supported in IntelliSense.
I never saw IntelliSense for CLR objects.
Again, I don't know. I mean, because I didn't even know you could actually get the IntelliSense to refresh faster until one of my students told me. Because like I said, I turned it off as soon as I got it, and I don't use it anymore. So it's possible, I just don't know. Cool. All right, good questions. Stop asking all the good questions. All right, you'll see there's permission levels here too. I'll get there in just a second as well. All right, so let's take a look. Let's say that you went through and you wrote all of your code. Okay, and let me show you just a couple of procedures I have so when we get to the other side, you'll be able to see them and we'll actually run them. Okay, I've got this get complex data query, which goes and creates data itself. Okay, it creates rows, it creates I think 2 rows or something like that, and then sends it back to the query analyzer or to the person that called the store procedure. I've got a function called getOSVersion that uses the system.environment to go find the operating system version. Okay, that's something that SQL Server doesn't. That's simple, isn't it? But SQL Server doesn't have that capability to figure that out. So here we just add it in ourselves. Okay, I have one called return order count, which actually goes out, creates a connection to the AdventureWorks database, I believe. Yeah, AdventureWorks database, and grabs all the sales order details information and counts it. Okay. I have another one that allows you to pass in a SQL double for the minimum total that we're looking at, so that it just adds a where clause to the select statement. Okay, that's nothing new. Okay, and then down the bottom here, I have 2 more. One is CLR string formatter, where the string.format. Anyone use string.format inside of your code? Would that be handy to you inside of SQL Server? Hello, so I just created one. So we get over to SQL Server, boom, you've got it there. You can do the string.format. Okay, and then I have a regex regular expression check. So we can pass in a value, what the regular expression is, and it'll use the regex class to go out and validate it. Cool? All right. So then the other ones you already saw, the add strings and those things. Now, yes.
You're doing SQL functions now. SQL Server supports like 3 or 4 different types of functions. Do you have to dictate that anywhere?
It's a great question. There are there's scalar functions, there's table value functions, there's multi-table, that one. Okay, you can put more metadata on there to specify what it is, but it knows. It's smart enough to say that I'm returning a table, so that it knows it's a table value one. It's smart enough to know that I'm returning a single value. It's just going to show up on our scalar functions. So you'll see it in just a second.